After 60, something strange happens. You begin to see the world a little more clearly, not through your eyes, but through your soul. People you thought would always be there slowly drift. And the ones you never expected, somehow become your anchors. In the quiet moments, you start asking, what truly holds me up now? This is not just about growing old. This is about growing wise. Let's talk about the 6 pillars of support that, believe it or not, can be stronger than family. 1. Deep friendships that withstood time. There's a kind of friendship that doesn't need daily phone calls or constant visits. It's a connection that picks up right where it left off, no questions asked, no guilt attached. These friendships may have begun decades ago, perhaps in childhood or during the chaos of raising families, and they've endured not because of obligation, but because of shared truths. These are the people who knew you before life weathered you down, and they still see the spark in your eyes. Over time, family can become distant, geographically, emotionally, or even spiritually. But friends who choose to stay, who come over just to sit in silence or bring you soup when you're too tired to cook, they become something sacred. They remember your stories without needing to be told again. They ask how you are, and mean it. This kind of support becomes more than familial. It becomes foundational. In this stage of life, the value of deep friendship becomes clearer than ever. Not everyone stays. Not everyone tries. But those who do, those who make space for your presence, who respect your wisdom, who see you, they become lifelines. You don't need many. 1 or 2 real ones are enough. That's the magic of aging, you stop counting quantity, and start cherishing quality. Some friendships form late in life, too. You might meet them at a community event, a park bench, or even in a support group. It doesn't matter when they came, it matters how they show up. They listen. They remember. They keep you rooted in a world that's constantly changing. And there's no blood between you, no birth certificate, no shared holidays. Just love. Just trust. Just the quiet understanding that you're safe with them. That support many families can't even offer. Some people will never understand how deep a friendship can go until they've lived over 60. It's not the friend who laughs at your jokes, it's the one who notices when you're quiet. It's the one who doesn't need a reason to be there. In moments of loss, health struggles, or fear of loneliness, it's often these friends who call first. Who don't ask if you need something, they just show up. They know what you don't say. They read the spaces between your words. That's a gift no inheritance can buy. We must begin to honor these relationships as essential. Not as extra, or nice to have. But as pillars, sturdy, tested, and truer with time. They remind you that you're still relevant. Still loved. Still worth showing up for. Even if the world forgets you, they won't. And sometimes, the people who show up the most, are the ones with no obligation to. That is where true support begins, not with duty, but with devotion. You don't need to share blood to be family. Sometimes, love chooses you in the form of a friend, and it saves you, over and over again. If this message has touched something inside you, even just a little, would you consider supporting this space? Your like lets others know they're not alone. Your comment may become a lifeline for someone reading. And your subscription, it tells us you want to keep walking this journey together. We're building something gentle here. Something warm. And your presence matters more than you know. Now, let's continue. 2. Wisdom communities that grow with you. There is a quiet power in being surrounded by people who walk the same road as you. Not ahead, not behind. But right beside you. These are your wisdom communities. They may not wear uniforms or gather under bright banners, but they gather nonetheless. In living rooms, libraries, church halls, or quiet park corners. It's not the place that matters, it's the shared understanding that life after 60 is not the end. It's a different kind of beginning. In these communities, no one rushes you. You're not asked to prove your worth. You're welcome just as you are, with your aches, your memories, your soft wisdom. Here, it's not about what you used to do. It's about who you still are. That's a kind of validation most people don't receive from family anymore. These spaces, whether formal or unspoken, are often lifelines for the spirit. When society tells you you're too old to matter, these communities remind you that your voice still holds weight. Your stories still carry meaning. And your experiences are not just respected, they are needed. There is no shame here in forgetting something, in walking a little slower, or in crying without reason. There is safety in mutual understanding. Everyone here has lost something. Everyone here has survived something. And that shared survival becomes a quiet bond that holds people together. It's different from therapy. It's different from religion. It's a soul circle. A place where you're not alone in your questions, or your answers. You're seen. You're heard. And more importantly, you're believed. These communities teach us that aging isn't about fading away, it's about deepening. Deepening our connections. Deepening our sense of purpose. And deepening our relationship with ourselves. You are no longer in the rush of youth. You have time now, not just to live, but to understand life. And when someone in your community falls ill, people show up, not because they're told to, but because they want to. Meals appear on doorsteps. Hugs arrive without words. Sometimes, all it takes is someone sitting beside you, not saying a word, but because they want to. Meals appear on doorsteps. Hugs arrive without words. Sometimes, all it takes is someone sitting beside you, not saying a word, but letting you know, you're not going through this alone. There is healing here. Healing from the years that went too fast. Healing from being invisible. Healing from all the expectations you once had to carry. In a wisdom community, you are allowed to rest, and still be loved. You are allowed to matter, even when you feel unsure. Not every elder finds this kind of community, but those who do often say the same thing, I didn't know how much I needed this until I had it. That's because many people spend years being strong for others, and forget what it feels like to be held themselves. The beauty of a wisdom community is this, you don't need to perform. You simply need to be. And in that stillness, in that mutual respect, something beautiful begins to grow, hope, connection, and a new kind of family. It's never too late to find your people. Sometimes, they've been waiting for you all along. 3. Purposeful routines that keep you grounded. Life after 60 can feel unpredictable. Bodies change. People leave. The calendar no longer fills itself. And yet, amid this quiet unpredictability, routines become sacred. Not because they are rigid, but because they anchor you. They give your day shape. They give your soul a rhythm. A morning walk. A cup of warm tea at the same hour. Watering your plants while the sun peeks through the curtains. These aren't just tasks, they're rituals. And rituals are the soft bones of meaning. They hold you up when nothing else does. Purpose doesn't always come from doing big things. After 60, it often comes from doing simple things, consistently. Routine is not about productivity. It's about peace. It's about knowing, in a world that sometimes forgets you, that you have not forgotten yourself. There is strength in waking up and choosing, again and again, to begin your day. To make your bed. To sit quietly for 5 minutes. To listen to the birds. You are sending a message to your own heart, I still matter. This moment still matters. Some days are hard. Grief rises without warning. Loneliness knocks louder than usual. And on those days, routines are like handrails, you hold on, and they hold you back. They remind you that there's a way forward, even if it's just one step at a time. Purposeful routines don't require perfection. They require presence. You don't need to do them well, you just need to do them with heart. That's the secret. The act becomes the medicine. The repetition becomes the refuge. And when you look back, you'll realize it wasn't the grand vacations or celebrations that held you together. It was the little habits. The afternoon tea. The journaling. The breathing exercises. The 5-minute stretches. The phone call to a neighbor. These small acts became your silent support system. No one sees you doing them. No one claps. But your soul notices. And it says, thank you. Routine also builds resilience. You become familiar with the feeling of showing up for yourself. And that familiarity turns into self-trust. And trust, even in old age, is a powerful thing. It makes you feel capable again. When family forgets to call, when plans fall through, when the day feels longer than your energy, your routine will still be there, waiting for you, like an old friend who never left. And that is a kind of loyalty no one can take away. So don't underestimate your quiet rhythms. They are more than time fillers. They are soul holders. They are proof that you are still living with intention. Even in stillness, you are moving forward. 4. Spiritual anchors that don't fade. In a world that grows noisier each year, the soul longs for something still. Something ancient. Something eternal. After 60, many begin to feel the pull, not just toward religion, but toward spirit. Toward meaning. Toward God, however they define that word. It doesn't have to be in a church or temple. Sometimes, it's in the silence of the morning. In the soft light on your kitchen table. In the feeling that someone, somewhere, is still walking beside you. Spirituality after 60 becomes less about answers, and more about comfort. Less about dogma, and more about presence. You begin to understand that you don't need to know everything to feel held. Prayer changes. It becomes less about asking, and more about being. A quiet surrender. A whispered gratitude. A tear shed in peace, not fear. Even those who never considered themselves spiritual in youth often find themselves reaching for something bigger in old age. Not because they're afraid, but because they're ready. Ready to let go of ego. Ready to forgive. Ready to return home to themselves. Spiritual anchors are not about being certain. They are about being carried. About trusting that even when the world doesn't make sense, your soul knows the way. And sometimes, that anchor is a song from childhood. A passage from a worn-out book. A walk in nature that brings you to your knees. These are the gentle reminders, you are part of something larger. Something kinder. Something still. When family fades, when friends depart, when health becomes unpredictable, spirit stays. It doesn't need permission. It doesn't need a schedule. It meets you in the middle of your breath and says, I'm still here. That's a kind of support stronger than any human promise. 5. Quiet self-belief rebuilt over time. After 60, one of the most powerful things you can carry is belief in yourself. Not the loud, boastful kind. Not the type meant to impress others. But the quiet kind, the belief that says, I've made it this far. I can keep going. In younger years, we often rely on others to remind us who we are, parents, children, bosses, lovers. But as time passes, those voices fade. And what you're left with, is your own. And for many, that voice has gone quiet from decades of self-sacrifice, shame, or doubt. But now is the time to reclaim it. Self-belief after 60 is not about ambition. It's about dignity. It's about waking up and deciding, I am still worth the effort. I am still worth the kindness. Even if your body aches. Even if your mind forgets. Even if no one else notices, you notice. That matters. It takes courage to trust yourself again. To speak up at the doctor's office. To ask for help without guilt. To say no without apology. To try something new, a class, a hobby, a trip, without needing approval. That's belief, too. That's how it starts, with small, quiet decisions that say, I matter. When family members stop checking in, when society begins to ignore you, and when the mirror shows someone you barely recognize, belief becomes your secret shield. Not because you're unbreakable, but because you've been broken before, and you still chose to live. Every wrinkle is a record. Every scar is a certificate. Every lonely night you survived is a reason to keep believing. Not in the world. Not in others. But in yourself. In your ability to begin again, to rise again, to choose joy even now. You don't need a standing ovation to know your worth. You just need to sit with yourself in silence and feel your own heart still beating, steady, faithful, true. Sometimes, belief comes when you look at an old photograph and realize, I've carried this soul through every fire and storm. And she's still here. He's still standing. That's no small thing. That's everything. Belief doesn't shout. It whispers. It hums like an old lullaby. It waits for you to return to it. And when you do, when you find that spark again, you'll realize, this pillar was within you all along. 6. Moments of joy that you create yourself. Perhaps the greatest surprise of aging is this: joy is still possible. Not just possible, essential. But it no longer arrives in grand packages. It comes in glimmers. In fleeting seconds. In the smallest things you almost miss. A warm sunbeam across your chair. The laughter of a neighbor's grandchild. A bite of your favorite pastry. The moment your favorite song plays on the radio. These are not coincidences. These are gifts. Little sparks from the universe, reminding you, you're still alive. And there is still beauty. After 60, joy must be chosen. Not because it's fake, but because it's fragile. Life can feel heavy. Grief lingers longer. People leave more often. But in the cracks of pain, joy still grows, like tiny flowers in concrete. You must bend down to see them. You must be willing. The power of this pillar is that no one else controls it. Not your children. Not your friends. Not your doctor. You. You alone have the power to decide that you still deserve joy. And once you decide, it starts to arrive, shy at first, but faithful. Create it with your hands, bake something you love. Create it with your eyes, notice something beautiful every day. Create it with your voice, hum an old song, even if no one's around to hear. You are not too old for delight. You are not too late for laughter. Many elders stop waiting for big events and start celebrating ordinary miracles. A soft blanket. A clean room. A handwritten note. The smell of rain. These things are holy now. Not because they changed, but because you did. You've lived long enough to know what matters. And you've also lived long enough to stop apologizing for your happiness. That's your right now, to feel joy, on your terms, in your time. And when others see you smile for no reason, they may wonder why. But you will know. You'll know it's because you decided that this day, like every day, still holds meaning, not because someone gave it to you, but because you found it. This final pillar, joy, is not frivolous. It is survival. It is resistance. It is proof that despite everything you've endured, your heart still opens. That, more than anything, is your strength. You didn't come this far just to endure. You came to live. Conclusion: your foundation is already within you. When you cross into your 60s, 70s, and beyond, the world starts whispering, you're nearing the end. But that is a lie. What they don't tell you, what many will never understand, is that life doesn't stop at retirement. It doesn't dissolve after your children leave. It begins again, in softer, wiser ways. These 6 pillars, friendship, community, routine, spirit, belief, and joy, are not things you have to change.